you're considering using an icon in any of your designs, here are a few tips to ensure good icon usability. The first thing is that you always need a text label. A text label is really needed to clarify the meaning of an icon because universal icons are rare. And further, some icons are used in multiple different ways on different websites and apps. And so when users encounter an icon, they can't be sure that any single meaning is going to be the right meaning for that context. You should also design icons to be schematic and not realistic. You want to avoid adding too many visual details because this adds to our visual processing and slows users down when they're trying to determine what that is. So you need just enough visual detail to ensure that you've captured the essence of that object and that's recognizable to people. By minimizing the amount of visual detail in your icon design, it not only reduces that visual processing, but it also helps your icon scale more easily. And that's important as we're designing for an ever-increasing number of devices and screen resolutions. If you're going to use that icon as a way of differentiating between certain things, say items in a list on an e-commerce site, for example, you want to vary both color and shape. If you rely on something like color alone, you run the risk of failing your colorblind users, and also color is more ambiguous because people may not be sure what that color is really supposed to mean. If you're, of course, using that icon in something more like a toolbar or a menu, you can go ahead and reduce that visual clutter and maintain a consistent color. Just ensure that you're using a unique shape that has a good information scent. When you're trying to come up with your design for that icon, consider adopting a 5-second rule. And no, I'm not talking about that sad piece of cookie on the floor. What I mean is if it takes you longer than about 5 seconds to come up with an object that would represent that idea or concept, then it's less likely that your users would see that design and associate it with that object. There maybe just isn't a visual that's strongly associated with that concept or idea. And of course, you always need to run a usability test with your users. So test your icons for recognition as well as information sent. So show users these icons out of context, just the picture on its own without a text label, and ask if they can figure out what that object's supposed to be. That'll show how well your design actually made that object recognizable. And further, ask them if they can decipher what might happen if they were to click on that icon in a certain context. Say, if they're on their account page for a banking institution, what might happen by clicking on that graphic? And again, that just shows if they're able to associate that image or graphic with some sort of functionality, right? Or whether or not it has a good information scent. So the next time you're designing an icon, remember these tips in order to ensure that that design is going to be as usable as possible for your users.